It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I am your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. And this show is brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You go to emailrevealer.com, you get a copy of my book, autographed copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. Also, too, if you think your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's cheating on you, which they probably are, okay, they're probably out there right now cheating on you. The cheapest, most effective way to catch a cheater is the online infidelity investigation. That's where you give us their email address. We trace it back to online dating websites. We catch them cheating online. 30% of those people on those online dating websites are either married, they're in relationships, they're cheating. 30% of those people on those dating websites are cheaters. Okay? Simple as that. So what are the odds? Of course, if your husband has an email address, of course he's on it. He's cheating on you. Get a hold of me. Okay, we'll catch him. Okay. Boy, what a day. We'll get through this. Well, let's see. Coming up tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have Stephen David Lampley. And he's a former private investigator, former cop. And he teaches a forensic seminar about how to catch a liar. Okay? And he wrote a bunch of books about it, too. Interesting show. One of the things that I really enjoyed about Stephen David Lampley is that he was in the Army with Jeffrey Dahmer. And you might recall we did that show with the guy from Program to Kill, that YouTube series. And one of the things about the Jeffrey Dahmer case was that Jeffrey Dahmer had taken this course while in the military. It was like a medical course, right? And so our guest, Stephen David Lampley, took that same basic course with Dahmer, and then Dahmer went on to overseas, I think Germany, and Lampley stayed and took the advanced course. So Lampley says that course was like barely like a first aid course. So it wouldn't qualify him to be doing the kind of medical stuff he was doing later on. I guess he studied up on his own. So very interesting topic there with Stephen David Lampley. Okay. That's not even open. Hey. Okay. My daughter's coming over like right now. Coming up after Stephen David Lampley, we have Gary Meese. And we discussed the Jessie Misskelley arrest. Jessie Misskelley of the West Memphis 3 was arrested 3 times in the past 3 months for driving without a license, driving without a insurance. What was it? Yeah, driving without a license, driving without insurance, and also driving with a broken headlight. So he's had 3 arrests. He's pled guilty to 2 of these cases, and he's bailed out now. They got him bailed out. But he's facing a couple of more has to plead guilty again. Sentencing phases. See what happens next. And, here in Nevada and in California, they have something called the habitual traffic offender. And if you were out on parole, this guy's got 10 years probation. That if he gets an offense that's an arrestable offense, he goes back in for 21 years. So under most states, he would be considered at this point a habitual traffic offender. 3 arrests in 3 months. The guy is a confessed child killer. You think, oh, brother. Okay. I swear. Never have kids. Okay, brother. Okay, let me play a commercial song.
And now a word from our sponsors. Archival Revival, the Christian Film Archive, is currently paying for vintage Christian films. They are dedicated to preserving and restoring classic Christian films and media. So if you have original prints, negatives, or other film elements of classic Christian films, or you have audio recording masters for classic Christian record albums, they want to buy them from you. So email archival.revival@gmail.com and they're going to make you an offer. Archival Revival wants to preserve these classic Christian films so that they continue saving people for years. These films have brought people to salvation. They want to continue that. Their staff has decades of experience in handling and preserving of film elements, utilize the very best climate-controlled film storage facilities around the world. Contact them today at archival.revival@gmail.com. If there's someone you know has these prints, negatives, recording masters, or other materials from vintage Christian films, you can check out their blog at archivalrevival.blogspot.com. Now, just so you understand, Archival Revival wants to pay you for these films. So you can look in your church attic, in the church basement. If you have a friend who runs a Christian youth ministry, these youth vacation Bible study camp, they have these old films in those big metal containers, 16 millimeter and 35 millimeter. Archival Revival wants to buy them from you. So this is a sponsor that actually wants to give you money. And all you have to do is contact them, tell them what you have. If you're in the UK or Ireland or Africa, these films are all over the world and they're gathering dust and they're going to deteriorate if they don't get into the hands of Archival Revival. So that's archival.revival@gmail.com, or the blog spot is archivalrevival.blogspot.com. Don't forget, this show is brought to you by pscoco.com. Phoebe Sod is an independent curator with the Cocoa Exchange. The Cocoa Exchange is formerly known as Dove Chocolate Discoveries, and they make the finest silky smooth chocolate because the products start with the best cocoa beans, which are tested for quality and flavor by expert technicians. The Cocoa Exchange offers not just premium chocolates, but anything from sauces and spices to brownie and cake mixes, and even coffee and martini mixes. If you wish to treat yourself or someone you love to a sweet and tasty gift, then the Cocoa Exchange is the brand for you. So you go to pscoco.com, you click on the Shop Now button. You can see all their beautiful chocolates. You can order it right now tonight. It could be in your mailbox in a couple of days. Or if you want to get into the chocolate business, you want to be a chocolatier just like Phoebe Sod, click the Contact Us button and you can learn how to get your own website, go into the cocoa chocolate business and sell chocolate and make a little bit of money there. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. But we also do all kinds of different services for you. An online dating service investigation. It's called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites. If you think your ex-husband or something is addicted to prescription medication, or involved in an extreme online pornography addiction, we can produce a report for you that you can use in court. Adoption investigations. If you want to locate your birth parents or your birth child you gave away for adoption, we can do adoption investigations for you. Asset searches for you. Locate bank accounts, hidden assets, hidden properties, hidden income, all different kinds of services in the asset search investigation. Email tracing. If you need to locate or identify somebody from just an email address, we can do an email trace investigation for you, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com.
Okay. Oh, brother. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. You work all week long, and then someone sabotages it. We got some breaking news here in Nevada. One of our congressmen, Ruben Cahoon, who's running against on the Democrat. He's a congressman right now, and he's running for re-election. He's running against Amy Villela, who we had a guest on our show. And Reuben Cahoon was just outed for sexually harassing one of his volunteers on his campaign back in 2016. There's a petition on my Facebook page demanding his resignation, so you can go check that out. Reuben Cahoon. And it's been all verified and checked out by, I think it was BuzzFeed. And then also, too, the Democratic convention, too. What's that? The DCCC, whatever it stands for. What is this here? See if I can find this. So if there's accused there, so okay, I can see we got a freaking. Hey, okay, coming up on the show, Scotty Schwartz, who is childhood friends with Corey Haim and also Corey Feldman. I recorded with him. We got 90 minutes in the can. A very interesting show. You got to pay attention to that one. And he's on the side of Corey Haim's mother and against Corey Feldman. He's basically calling Corey Feldman out for having this GoFundMe account and trying to raise all this money. He's the kid from Christmas Story. The little kid has licked the pole and got his tongue stuck on the pole. So that's coming up probably next week. All right, and I also have a show with Jody Marie about zero waste. Very, very nice woman, Jody Marie. And she's a vegan. She's raw foods. So we get into all that kind of stuff. And zero waste is where you try to live your life without creating any kind of trash behind you. So we did 90 minutes on that. I have I'm taping tomorrow with Ruben Da Silva, who's running for Congress here in Nevada. And then I taped two with this woman who is an anti-porn activist. Her name is Patty Valentine. And she's with the Anti-Porn Activist Network. So that's coming up. I'm going to be tagging those onto the Scotty Schwartz show and the Jody Marie show. The members section's been updated. I got two shows in there for you. One is an interview I just did with Alan Warren, where he interviews me. We talk about political events and current events, I guess you call it. And another one is the interview I did with the very brutal interview. It's very difficult to listen to with the father of Danielle Bregoli, the girl, the Cash Me Outside girl from the Dr. Phil show. So that's finally up there. That's been updated. I got that up there for you. And also, too, for people, a lot of people out there, I know you've been getting the members section shows for free. Because there was a little glitch with Spreaker where even though I was recording a show for future distribution, or I was recording a show to go up in the members section, it was still being sent out to people's iPhones and Androids. Well, that's not going to be happening anymore. Okay, we don't have that. Okay, I got in touch with Spreaker. And they didn't even know about the glitch because I guess I'm one of the only people that broadcast in this way. But they fixed the glitch, and we tested it out, and that no longer works anymore. So no more free shows for all you guys doing that. So I would urge you at this time, okay, you got a free ride for a long time, to, help support the show now. You've been going to all this trouble to listen to it, and help support the show. And I'll give you a deal. I'll give you 13 months for $60. And you just have to PayPal me direct at oppermanreport@gmail.com. And I'll hook you up. You can be working tonight. And I really could use the support right now because we got nothing but headaches going on here. I haven't eaten in 3 days. I'm doing a fast anyway, but my car's not running. They're in and out of here working on this mold. And it's just a miserable situation here. Vic couldn't even stay over here the other night. She had to go back to her mom's house. Hey, so it's just like one freaking thing after another here. Can't get any work done. Just unbelievable. So if you can help out, become a member, especially you guys that have been getting a free show for the past 4 years. That'd be nice. All right, so I did a show last week with Casey Gain Magala. And during the show, when I got a word in edgewise with Casey, what happened was that same day we were taping a show that Trump there was a big news story about how Trump had bombed a opium processing factory in Afghanistan. And they showed the video of it, and it was this big, giant factory, man, very sophisticated operation. It was a big building, you know. It wasn't some little meth lab, you know. So I saw that, and I says, boy, this is like a change of policy, because there isn't any real dispute, I guess, that you know, the U.S. and the CIA is running the poppy business down there in Afghanistan. As a matter of fact, there's a guy, a listener sent this to me, Juma Juhan, who was a drug smuggler in the 90s, right? And when the Taliban took over, he seized control of this area, and he took over all the drug smuggling and the gun running, right? And then after the American-led invasion, his power took off because of the surge in opium and heroin production in Afghanistan after the fall of the Taliban. And after the Taliban, we knocked them out and the U.S. government came in, they were growing more opium and more heroin over there. And this is a well-known situation because he was detained in Afghanistan, and then he was released, and they allowed him to go back to his drug smuggling. And this is in court records and stuff like that, because ultimately he was brought to the New York City to be held, you know, in like one of these terrorist prison deals they got. So right around the same time I saw that video, and I says, boy, this is like a change in policy. Trump, and even the general who announced it said, hey, this is a change in policy. So right around that same time, right before the show, there were a couple other little news things that popped up. One was that there was from Breitbart, and Breitbart reported that there was crime scene tape around CIA headquarters. So I saw that, and I said, "Oh, look at this! This is interesting." You know, we had this, and then there was this other story that was even more extreme. Okay, that somehow CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, that the Marines had landed helicopters onto CIA headquarters, and there was some reports, you know, after the story gets repeated by different people, that the 2,000 Marines landed with machine guns and rushed into the building. So I was talking to Casey about it. I said, did you hear about any of this? And he says, no, I haven't heard about any of this. And I says, yeah, we got to take a look at this. So since that show, I have taken a look into it. Okay. All right. And it turns out that, well, the thing about the bombing is real. Okay. Well, we think it's real. We think it's real, you know, but who knows? But that Trump did order a new strategy where we're going to be bombing heroin factories there, or at least one heroin factory, and take pictures of it and put it on the news. Who knows what's going on with that? But the thing about Breitbart and about the crime scene tape, that turns out to be from 2 years ago. So someone had an agenda to publish that on the same day as these other two stories. Now, it turns out, and this is where we get into it's a small world category, okay, that the other story about the Marines landing these helicopters, and there's eyewitnesses that see Marines jumping out of these helicopters and rushing into the building, and they're taking over CIA headquarters, comes from a guy named Hal Turner. Hal Turner. And so I start looking up Hal Turner. I said, okay, we trace back to Hal Turner. Who's Hal Turner? I found him on Wikipedia. He's described as a white nationalist and a Holocaust denier and a blogger from North Bergen, New Jersey. And the more you read about this guy, you find out that who this guy was. He was a caller. He was a guy who used to call into right-wing radio talk shows like Barry Farber and Bob Grant in New York. And what was his name? He had like a name like Hal from Flushing or something like that. Okay. And it turns out this guy, this is the origin of the story. And he claims that he had people there who live next to Langley, Virginia, CIA headquarters, which is impossible. There's nowhere within eyesight of this base, okay, that you can even see it. But he claimed he had eyewitnesses who saw these Marines land and run in with machine guns. He even gave a number, 2,200 Marines stormed in. He had eyewitnesses, sources that gave this. Okay. Who's this guy, Hal Turner? This guy is a fascinating freaking guy, man. This guy, he starts out as a caller in. He calls in to radio shows. And he calls into Bob Grant and Sean Hannity. And then he parlays that into becoming Pat Buchanan's 1992 presidential campaign coordinator for Northern New Jersey. Okay? All right? Then he gets involved. Get this. Remember how I always tell the story about back on WBAI? One of the first bits that I used to do was I used to imitate Frank from Queens. I was the fake Frank, and I was the first fake Frank. Well, this guy, Hal Turner, teams up with another frequent radio host caller, a guy named John from Staten Island, and Frank from Queens. Was it Frank from Queens? Yeah, Frank from Queens. And so they all host their own little radio show, little podcast on shortwave radio. But then they have a falling out and they all break up. So then this guy, Hal Turner, he goes on to working with these right-wing white supremacist groups, and he becomes an informant for the FBI. Okay, and he denies it now, but the thing is, even in one of his court cases, his own defense attorney said he was working as an informant for the FBI. So according to Hal Turner, this FBI informant, radio talk show caller, by the way, he went to prison too, because he went on the air, he started threatening some federal judges and politicians and stuff. So he gets arrested for that. And they throw him in a serious prison, too. He's like in a maximum security prison. So this guy has made his enemies along the way. That's for sure. Okay, but according, that's the guy, supposedly, that some eyewitness saw Marines landing at CIA headquarters and says, let me get a hold of Hal Turner and report this to him. Okay? He's been involved with some other hoaxes, too. Previous nonsense stories. Something about the feds grant eminent domain as collateral to China for U.S. debts. Bunch of nonsense. So anyway, so that's where the origin of that story is. And people are still repeating the story now a week later, as if it's real. Now, Hal Turner himself goes on his own Fakaka website over there that he's got, right? This thing is a joke. But he's giving these updates, and now he says, well, I never said the helicopters landed, and I never said there was eyewitnesses. I never said any of that. As a matter of fact, what my witnesses now, what they tell me, and these are deep intel sources, right? There's deep intel sources who, of course, want to associate with a guy who just got out of prison for threatening judges and people. And also, too, there's all kinds of stuff here about him stalking civilians and stalking all kind of people, too. Oh, my God. So now his story is that, no, they didn't land. His sources now tell him they didn't land. He's got new sources, better ones. They never landed. But this was a signal. This was a signal of the Marines telling the CIA to back off. It's a clear signal, he says, as a matter of fact. Oh, brother. So you got to wonder, who's smarter than the fifth grade? Hal Turner or Jessie Misskelley? Because what I was going to tell you at the beginning of the show about Jessie Misskelley, which I was rudely interrupted, trying to get my work done here, trying to put some food on the table, but no, is that Jessie Misskelley, when he was arrested, his neighbor and good friend, a woman named Joanne Henderson, takes to Facebook and says, poor Jessie is in jail because of his license and his insurance. These are the charges against him. Got to raise money to get him out. So I'm in a lot of these secret groups, you know. And so I said to her, I says, well, how could this must be another frame up. This must be another false confession. Because we all know Jessie's too stupid to fill out those insurance forms or go down to find where the DMV is to fill out his to get a license. See, because the theory is that poor Jessie Misskelley was just a poor, dumb kid, borderline, retarded, low IQ, who was so dumb that so challenged, I guess it was to say, in 2017. He was so challenged, the poor boy, that he just confessed to anything the police told him to confess to. They took advantage of that poor dumb boy. Right? Well, okay, and the supporters have been saying this for years and years. Supporters who never met him a day in their life will tell you, that poor Jessie, he just confessed because he was dumb. Wasn't as smart as a fifth grade. At a fifth grade level, third grade, Gets lower and lower every year. It gets dumber by the years. But this woman, Joanne Henderson, says, and I got a screenshot of it. You know, they deleted the whole thread, of course, because they don't want this out. They don't want this news out, okay? That's for sure. This is something they want to keep under wraps. But this woman who says that Jessie Misskelley is her neighbor and her good friend, and he's spent many times in her home there, spent time with her, and her kids go fishing with him all the time. They go fishing, I think she said every day. I didn't save that portion. And she said, let me tell you, Mr. Opperman, he's not stupid. No, sir. He's a very smart man. A very smart man. That's a quote from his best friend who got him out when he was in trouble. He needed someone to get him out of jail. This is the woman who, and when he got out of jail, he went straight to her place. Because she posted another thing saying, he's here now, he's safe. All his fines have been paid by his fans and loyal supporters. His adoring fans paid his traffic fines even. Because they love him so much because he's wrongly convicted because he was dumb. And he confessed because he's dumb. But now he's not dumb. He's very smart. It's a miracle. Hey, I tell you, man, I just want to give up sometimes. You know, I work on these notes all week long. And then I got somebody sabotage me. All right, let's play another commercial. What am I going to do?
And now a word from our sponsors. Archival Revival, the Christian Film Archive, is currently paying for vintage Christian films. They are dedicated to preserving and restoring classic Christian films and media. So if you have original prints, negatives, or other film elements of classic Christian films, or you have audio recording masters for classic Christian record albums, they want to buy them from you. So email archival.revival@gmail.com and they're going to make you an offer. Archival Revival wants to preserve these classic Christian films so that they continue saving people for years. These films have brought people to salvation. They want to continue that. Their staff has decades of experience in handling and preserving of film elements, utilize the very best climate-controlled film storage facilities around the world. Contact them today at archival.revival@gmail.com. If there's someone you know has these prints, negatives, recording masters, or other materials from vintage Christian films, you can check out their blog at archivalrevival.blogspot.com. Now, just so you understand, Archival Revival wants to pay you for these films. So you can look in your church attic, in the church basement. If you have a friend who runs a Christian youth ministry, these youth vacation Bible study camp, they have these old films in those big metal containers, 16 millimeter and 35 millimeter. Archival Revival wants to buy them from you. So this is a sponsor that actually wants to give you money. And all you have to do is contact them, tell them what you have. If you're in the UK or Ireland or Africa, these films are all over the world and they're gathering dust and they're going to deteriorate if they don't get into the hands of Archival Revival. So that's archival.revival@gmail.com, or the blog spot is archivalrevival.blogspot.com. Don't forget, this show is brought to you by pscoco.com. Phoebe Sod is an independent curator with the Cocoa Exchange. The Cocoa Exchange is formerly known as Dove Chocolate Discoveries, and they make the finest silky smooth chocolate because the products start with the best cocoa beans, which are tested for quality and flavor by expert technicians. The Cocoa Exchange offers not just premium chocolates, but anything from sauces and spices to brownie and cake mixes, and even coffee and martini mixes. If you wish to treat yourself or someone you love to a sweet and tasty gift, then the Cocoa Exchange is the brand for you. So you go to pscoco.com, you click on the Shop Now button. You can see all their beautiful chocolates. You can order it right now tonight. It could be in your mailbox in a couple of days. Or if you want to get into the chocolate business, you want to be a chocolatier just like Phoebe Sod, click the Contact Us button and you can learn how to get your own website, go into the cocoa chocolate business and sell chocolate and make a little bit of money there. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. But we also do all kind of different services for you. An online dating service investigation. It's called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites. And we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites. If you think your ex-husband or something is addicted to prescription medication, or involved in an extreme online pornography addiction, we can produce a report for you that you can use in court. Adoption investigations. If you want to locate your birth parents or your birth child you gave away for adoption, we can do adoption investigations for you. Asset searches for you. Locate bank accounts, hidden assets, hidden properties, hidden income, all different kinds of services in the asset search investigation. Email tracing. If you need to locate or identify somebody from just an email address, we can do an email trace investigation for you. And all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. And I really want to apologize, too, because, I have all this stuff prepared. And like everybody knows, I do a live show 7 o'clock, Friday nights. I haven't missed a live show like in years. But they picked this time, to come over and start bugging me and stuff. It's just unbelievable. So, big news today with President Mr. Trump. I was saying last week, man, as soon as I saw this thing with how Flynn's lawyer told Trump's lawyer that they were no longer cooperating, I said then that Flynn was flipped. And everyone says, "Oh, flipped to what? What you gonna do?" And people, and I'm telling you now, he's going to flip on Trump. He's going to flip on Kushner, and Manafort's ready to flip too. Okay, guys. Manafort right now, he's in the middle of a negotiation deal to reduce his bail, and they're letting him put up $11 million worth of properties. If Manafort's convicted on these charges of money laundering, the first thing they're going to do is forfeit all these properties. So he's giving them something they're going to take anyway, okay? You know what I mean? This is ridiculous. So Manafort, his negotiation right now, he's working at a deal too. He's going to testify against Trump as well. And the thing is we've come to a point where people just can't see the obvious because there's so much fake news out there. And we just had a situation yesterday. No one cares about it today. Yesterday, all day long, on CNN and MSNBC, they were saying the president's crazy. He's lost his mind. He needs to be impeached because he's lost his mind. Now, people are saying, well, Ed, they say that because the press is part of the deep state, and Comey's part of the deep state, and Mueller's part of the deep state, and they're all after Trump because he's going to free all the pedophiles and or arrest all the pedophiles and stuff like that. By the way, there's a story just came out today. I posted on my Facebook page where there's another evidence that an eyewitness that saw Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and a young girl riding on Trump's plane. Okay, so there's another incident where they're flying on planes together, but that's a whole other story. It was about in 2002, I think it was. I don't have it in front of me. So that was some important news today too. But the thing I was trying to get to is that they say, well, that Trump is he's a good guy and he's going to arrest all the pedophiles and his 4,000 sealed indictments. Ed, you got to get on board and join us with this fantasy. That's why Comey and the deep state and Mueller and the deep state's going after him. And that's why the press, because they're part of the deep state too. Well, obviously the press had no idea what the FBI was doing. Okay? These guys, Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, obviously CIA, okay? But they had no idea what the FBI was going to announce the next day. They didn't even know this morning that this was coming up. Okay? This was a shock to them. So you can't tell me they're working together in a plan to take down Trump. They're on different teams, obviously. And I guess Trump's on no team. But the big story yesterday was that Trump was losing his mind because he's retweeting these fake hate Muslim videos, which is insanity. I think he has lost his mind. If you see the guy, he's not the same guy he was when he was running for president, that's for sure. And he's not the same guy we used to see on TV in New York all the time. Can't finish a sentence. He makes no sense. Angry all the time. Has that face, Anyway. But he's tweeting out these fake Muslim videos, right, of Muslims being attacked or attacking people and throwing people over bridges and stuff. Right? And they all turn out to be all fake stuff. He's retweeting some right-wing fascist group there in the UK. But the problem is Sarah Huckabee Sanders comes out and says, well, it doesn't matter that the videos aren't real. It's the truth behind it that's real. And that's what counts. And that's been something that's been bugging me for a long time. I've been seeing this coming. You hear me complaining about it for years. Just like Corey Leviton, one of my guests. He complains about this too. All these fake stories get posted on Facebook, and people say, well, it doesn't matter if it's fake because the opinion behind it is real. The sentiment is real. Like you have this thing about a fake commencement college graduation speech by Bill Cosby. Pull up your pants. Or one by Bill Gates saying, no one ever gave me nothing for free. I had to work hard. You got to get there. But it turns out that they never wrote these things. They're just made up. And people say, well, it doesn't matter that it's made up. It's the sentiment behind it that I agree with. But no, see, that's how they got us started. By pulling this crap. And now we got the President of the United States doing it. And if you don't see that as a problem, then you're part of the problem. Okay? Because the reason why people are falling for all this stuff, and they don't, the reason why someone can look at me with a straight face and say that the director of national intelligence getting arrested and pleading guilty is not a big deal. Okay? Man, you grew up in a whole different world I did, brother. Okay? And I'm predicting also as well. And every one of my predictions on this has been correct. No one cares. I don't care. Who cares? Just interrupt me while I'm doing my show. No one cares. No one has any respect for what I do. Okay? But I'm telling you also, too, Trump's going to fire Mueller. He may fire him. I would go out on a limb and say he's going to fire him in 30 days, but within 90 days for sure. There's no doubt in my mind. And the next head to come under indictment is going to be Kushner, the boy wonder. He's going down next. Now, part of this whole thing that I'm seeing here, okay, part of this fake news and it's okay to make up stuff that we got to be concerned about here is this business with Veritas and that guy O'Keefe hiring someone to go in there and pretend that they were molested by Roy Moore down there in Alabama so that he could discredit the other women who were actually molested and he could discredit the Washington Post. Okay? That's a new element that we haven't had to deal with before. And guys like that are getting tons of money dropped in their lap, okay? Now, I'm not saying that I would do the same thing if money were dropped in my lap, but if I had money to work here, we could get something done. We could fight these guys. No, it's not worth it, telling me, okay? Part of that went down with the guest I had on tonight. Mr. Charles Upham, because he's trying to get his story out there. And they take his story and they twist it and they change it. And it's not just for ratings. They're doing this stuff for a purpose, okay? And with his story, what they're doing is they changed his story a couple of times and saying that his daughter, Misty, was just about to expose Harvey Weinstein and she was murdered. Well, if you listen to the show, you heard the actual details of the tragic loss of this man's daughter. And by the way, this guy was crying during the commercial breaks, man. It was this wasn't an easy interview for either one of us. Okay? But his daughter was failed on the reservation when she was raped as a child. She was failed by the medical system, and then she was failed by the police department. She was failed by the whole Hollywood industry there. And then she was failed by the police department when she was struggling with her withdrawal from her medication and went running out of the house there and ran off that cliff and died. But there is real dirt out there on Harvey Weinstein, and they want to create a fake story, like a straw man argument, okay? So that people will see it and say, oh, that's just more made-up stuff. Oh, Harvey Weinstein was going to kill. That's all been debunked. Ed Opperman debunked it, that Harvey Weinstein wasn't going to kill that girl. And then when we do know about Harvey Weinstein hiring these Mossad guys to go dig up dirt on these women that he was abusing and harassing. You follow what I'm saying here? They make up stories to muddy up the water, discredit people, and confuse the issue, just like when it goes on in the JFK assassination work. I'm working on another story right now, okay? And I got to be very careful with it. There's a lot going on with it. There's so many levels to these things that people just have no idea. And then you sit at home, and I could sit here and talk to someone for 5-6 hours, before they go on the air. And then someone sitting at home will say, well, this is what I think is going on. And it's just so frustrating. Tonight's not a good night for me. I'm having a really rough week. Yeah, maybe I'm too cranky to do a show tonight. But I'll end with this, is that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes.